have Josiah Kwesi as our facilitator today, and then he's going to take us through the commercialization process. Today's topic is on innovation, and some of us know him as the founder and CEO for iSpace, and he's also the chairperson for Ghana Hubs Network. And so today, Josiah, if you are ready, over to you.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Josiah. Hi, Josiah. Can you hear me, please? Hello, Josiah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Josiah. I am going to take you through the series of the whole commercialization part of this project, which naturally has 8 stages that we're going to go through. So this couple of weeks, I'm going to take you through the process. And it's just going to be a series of content that I will share with you. And those of you that want to reach out to me after, we could do that and then watch and then discuss the stage in which your company is in the innovation space or the stage, and then we can do that. So right now, I think if you already have your own startup or you have an idea already that you're working on, you should be thinking about commercialization, because again, that's the reason why you're in business. You're in business really to make money. See? So everything that you do is to ensure that you can commercialize, you can bring your product to the market. So when we talk about commercialization, what do we actually mean, right? Now, commercialization with its 8 or 9 processes is a series of steps and activities that involve in bringing a new service or product or technology to a market, right? So this is the operational thing here, where it's a series that you take to bring something new to a market. So you're commercializing your idea that you bring to the market. Now, this would involve your product launch itself. So it starts all the way from the ideation stage to your product launch itself, your market entry, sustainable growth, you scale, you exit. All of these things are part of that particular process, but it's the whole thing that you go through. And if you look on the slide, which will be shared with you, so if you can say it very well on your end, we'll share with you. But it consists of 9 cycles that you have to go through. So from research, disclosure, the evaluation itself, the protection, marketing, choosing a partner, licensing the thing itself, and then commercializing that particular technology or product service that you have, and then obviously generating revenue that would benefit society. The reason why that is important, because again, everything that you do has to have an impact on society one way or the other. So ideally, it has to benefit. How does it benefit it? It benefits it in the job that you create, the money, the taxes, and everything else that you pay, right? So that's how you have to look at it. So in this series, when you're looking at the 9 things that has been put there, we are then going to take it out one by one. So that when we're done with this whole 8-part series, when you put it all together, that would be your commercialization stage that you've gone through. So the first one, as you can see, would be innovation or research in this case. So there are 12 steps to the innovation process. Yes, 12 steps to the innovation process. Now, these steps, you don't necessarily have to follow it one by one or one after the other, because innovation itself is not linear, right? It's not physical in that sense, because again, it's a process that you go through. So it's not always a product, it's also the steps in which you take to do something. That is also innovative. So then say the innovation part of the process refers to the creative and then inventive activities that transform an idea or a concept into a marketable product or service, right? And let me repeat, is the process that you go through to turn an idea into a product marketable, right? That is marketable. So that is one thing that you have to think about. Think about innovation. Innovation should equal, right? So idea, concept, that is marketable. Product or technology, the most important thing is you're moving from idea to the market, okay? So that's what innovation is at its basic level. So the thing that you have to think about is your competition, the value that you bring, and then its customers itself. So you cannot innovate without thinking about competition. You can't innovate without thinking about value. You can't innovate without thinking about your customers. And that's something that you have to always have in mind. You are innovating to create value. You're innovating because you have competitors. You're innovating because you are doing something for customers. So now let's look at these steps. And again, don't worry about absorbing all of that right now, because the slides will be shared with you so that you can read them over time. So these 12 steps starts from ideation. So this is the initial stage where you generate your ideas, whether it's through market research, feedback that you get, research that you did, Google it, talk to people, whatever it is, it's just idea generation. You're just generating ideas at this moment. Then you move on from that, you go to concept development. From concept development, which includes your features, the functionalities, the value proposition, this is where you are with your concept development. Then you talk about, from concept development, you move into prototyping of your proof of concept, right? So here you will create something that is feasible, something that can be tested for its feasibility, as in, does it survive the test of time? Would it answer the particular question or problem that you say you're solving, right? So you're developing your prototype as in itself, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be functional, right? Then you move into your research and development. Here, it involves you asking questions, right? Scientific research, asking questions, engineering, and then designing of the product or the technology that you have. Then you look at, from here, we go on to the intellectual property side of things. Now, the intellectual property side of things is very, very important, because if you do not own the intellectual property to something, you cannot then, as a startup, go and seek funding for it, because I am funding you for a product that you do not own, right? It becomes difficult for me to fund you for a product that you do not own. So we would also talk about intellectual property in the next series. It looks like disclosure, right? So we will talk about intellectual property in depth in that. So don't worry about it. We can talk about that later. Then you look at product development. Product development in this.
Josiah.
Yes.
Please, we can't hear your voice. Your voice is distant and it sounds very low as well.
This is the first time I've been told, because usually I've been told my voice is loud. Can you hear me now?
Still the same.
My village people are working today. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Okay, so I will stand very close to the laptop and just hopefully it makes it better. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for bringing my attention to it. Thank you. So now in the product development stage, this is where you look at manufacturing that product itself, what would it look like? Bringing into a physical state, right? So those of you that are doing services, replace the word product with service, right? So what would it look like? How are people going to receive that service? What features would it have? The colors and everything else. How would they feel? This is the stage that you're in at the moment. So remember, you move from ideation, now you're into product development. That's just the 6th stage that you're in. Now, the next stage to that is where we talk about market testing. Take it to the market, right? Before you fully commercialize the thing, you need to take it to the market. So here is the thing that most people have to understand. Your product development is not every single features that your product has, like the full version of your product, right? It's the functional version of your product, because you need to take it to the market. Once you take it to the market responds to it, they will give you feedback. That feedback would then make sure
Hello, Josiah. Hi, Josiah. I think it's facing a little network challenge. You should be back on soon. All right, so I think there is a little network issue. We should be joining in soon. So I just want to know if there are any questions, you can be putting them in the chat box. If there are any comments that you have, you can put them in the chat box whilst we wait for him to join back. Thank you. And I just want to also mention that at the end of this session, I would ask that we will turn our cameras on so that we can take a quick photo. So can you do well to be on until we are done from today's session? And please put your questions down if you have any, whilst we wait for him to join. Yes, so somebody's asking if we'll get a copy of the slides. Yes, please. It will be shared. The recordings too will be shared. You're welcome. Does anyone have any question while we wait? You can put it here. So as Josiah mentioned earlier, the commercialization process is in about seven subtopics. So for the next 4 weeks, we'll be having him teaching us on each of them. So it's for every week we are going to have a 2-day class. So on a Tuesday and then on a Thursday. So for the next 4 weeks, we'll be having him taking us through the commercialization process one by one. Yeah, I just wanted to inform you on that. Hey, I think he's on now.
Yes, sorry about that, some weird technical issue. Shinesa, so I need to go back into starting again, correct?
Yes, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, please, we can see it.
And tell me what you can see.
So I see innovation.
Okay. So you can see, if I change right now, what do you see?
Idea generation.
Great, so it's back on. So yeah, sorry about that, people. I don't know what happened there, but we will make it happen. But I will do a summary, so don't worry if you missed anything. So now, I was talking about the market testing things. You have to make sure you do market testing. After you do market testing, and then somebody will say, then why are you looking at regulations after market testing? Again, because you're not testing a fully fledged product, you're really not bound technically by the regulation side of things. So the likes of the FDAs and everything else, because you've not commercialized yet, so you're in the testing stage. So you are allowed to test it with customers, find out what feedback you're getting from the customers before you commercialize. Now, after you are happy with the product, then you need to go and seek regulations. So you go to the FDA, get your certifications and everything else before you can then scale. So the next stage after your regulations and you get your certificates and everything else, you then scale. Scaling in this case is creating your innovation or your product or your service in a mass so that other people can get it and put it on the market and sell, right? Now, here is the thing. After you scale, there's still 3 processes that you have to go through, right? Where you look at the continuous improvement. Now, continuous improvement here is you getting feedback, right, from your customers, looking at ways in which you can still improve this particular product that you have or the service that you have. It could be tweaking the customer service part of it, or maybe the bottle that you're using, doesn't really work. It's not environmental friendly, or whatever packaging that you have might not be working as time you go on. But then the most important thing is you continuously looking for ways to then improve on that product, right? Then you look at adaptation, right? How to adapt to this particular product in whatever environment that you find yourself in. Sometimes technology can come in, change everything, but you need to adapt. So then how do you then re-innovate? Then you have to go back to square one. Again, looking at the features and how do you innovate when things are changing around you. So then you develop a loop of feedback. This is where you collect information from stakeholders, competitors, clients, customers or whatever. And I use the word client and customers here. They're not one and the same. And again, when we do the next series in disclosure and evaluation, I will tell you the difference. So customers, clients, competitors, stakeholders, government, all of these people, you need to get your continuous loop of feedback from them, because if you don't get the loop on feedback on regulations, for example, and things change, your product would go against the market, would be illegal, then it's a problem. So you always have to get that feedback. So do not think that once you are on the market, you've launched your product, then automatically you're safe, you're home dry. No, you have to keep going back and forth, and keep tweaking the service or the product you have. So you look at the innovation stuff, and then you look at the 12 different stages to that. Now, for the purpose of this series that we're in, we're only going to look at the main 4 side of things, right? Then again, because I will share the slides, and depending on where you are in your innovation stage, if you contact me, then I can work with you with your startup to the other stages and tell you the strategies that you need to use. So if you are in the first stage, which is the ideation stage, this is a critical stage. This is where you look at strategies, you look at how to break your ideas down, how to generate ideas in itself. And 3 of the main ways to go around that is brainstorming, right? Gather a diverse group of people. Do not choose friends that think exactly the same. No. Choose people from different backgrounds, diverse, that will give you different ideas. Make sure you're not in the room. You give them the concept for them to discuss. Then you leave the room, because when you're in the room, sometimes they will kind of start thinking towards your direction. So give them the space for them to be able to come up with the ideas, right? Brainstorm, what if this product does this? Would it do that? We want the product to do this. All of these things are things that you need to brainstorm, ideas, and make people feel free to come up with the ideas without being judged. Because if you make people feel like, oh, my ideas are rubbish, they're going to say my ideas are rubbish, then nobody is going to, freely come up with their idea, because they feel like, they will be judged, right? So you embark on a creative thinking exercise, right? Where you use so many different techniques to ensure that people would think, in a creative way to give you the ideas. Then you think about mind mapping, literally what it says, where you're trying to connect the ideas to each other, branch ideas and how they relate to the concept and the ideas that you have. So it's almost like a spider web. So if we start here, you said you want to train us that, probably is waterproof. right? But then I wanted the laces to be like this. How does the lace link to this particular thing? So you mind map the processes and how they link to each other, but you need to do it in a way that is so visual that everybody can see what is happening in the first place. So in a sense, mind mapping is almost like the refined version of brainstorming, because brainstorming is just the ideas freely everywhere, whereas the mind mapping, now you're linking and connecting branches to the ideas that you already have. Now, another thing that you can also do is look at other industries, right? So cross-industry inspiration. You can look at another industry, see what it is that they're doing that you can bring into your innovative ideas that you have. And a typical example is, and I'm sure, those of you that have kids or don't have kids, there's this thing that you put babies in, we call a pram. If you look at the legs of a pram, they look like an aeroplane landing gear, like the wheels of an aeroplane. When you think about the same concept is how it works, right? See, so you took one product from an industry and then brought it into a different industry. See, so that's how cross-industry inspiration would work. Or you look at in the airplane, the pilots, how they literally, I won't say drive it, but fly an airplane. But then the Game Boys that you use, or if you're into sports car, the way the drivers in Formula One, they use the gear, clicking on the gear, is the same format that you use to play games. So you took that industry concept in the Formula One car, and then you brought it into the gaming space, where you created a console that would make people just click, as if they're doing something. So the innovation came from that space in itself. So you can look at another industry and take inspirations from there and then apply it to what it is that you're doing, right? Then after you've done all of this ideation and you've gone through the ideas and you've been able to pick the ideas and settle on what it is that works for you, right? We are then going to move into the concept development stage. Now, the concept development stage this is the stage where you refine and shape and try to transform the ideas that you have into something tangible, right? Something that makes sense. And now, so some of the strategies that you end up using here is clearly define your objectives, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, right? Why do you even want to do that? Who are you doing it for? What are the desired outcomes? And all of these things are things that you have to think about. What problem or opportunity is this concept meant to then address or solve in the first place, right? Then you look at the user-centered design. Now, you can never build a product without thinking about the person that is going to use it. So everything has to be centered around the person that you're creating the things for. You have to think about them. How are they going to then access this particular solution, be it a service or product? How are they going to access it? How are they going to use it? What would, take away their pain points? And all of these other things. What are the pain points? And how would this solution solve their pain points? So that's how you have to think. You have to place the user right in the middle and design everything around them. Then, after you've done that, you move into your prototyping and the mock-up stage. This is where you have, nice visualization drawings of the concept that you have. You put it on paper, or you can even do a 3D drawing version of it, or whatever it is that you need to move into your prototyping stage, right? And here are some of the tools that you can use really for that. So when you're doing your concept development stage, particularly in your communication stage, you need to use things like Trello, use Slack. If you can't afford these softwares, you can easily use the Google Docs. You and your team can then work off it and then just putting ideas together, draw a few things here and there, communicate, share information and everything else on that particular platform when it comes to communication and collaboration, when it comes to concept development. When it comes to the concept development side of prototyping, the tools that you can use, again, is Sketch, things like Figma, Adobe XD. Here is where you use to do your mock-ups and all of that. If you don't have the skills for it, there are other people that you can pay to then do that for you. Then, if it's a research side of things that you're in, then you need to look at the SurveyMonkey, Typeform, Hotjar. There's so many other research platform tools that you can use, but here are the, even Google Docs, You can use the Google form and all of these other things to just get information from people. So the idea is now that you move from idea, you've done your whole concept development, you know what it is that you want to do. Then you naturally need to move into your prototyping stage. Now, your prototyping stage is very, very critical. Then why? Because here is the stage that will allow you or enable you to then test out the functionality of the product that you're going to create. You don't need to spend too much money doing this. You know, I've seen in the line of the business I'm in, I've seen a lot of startups or entrepreneurs that are actually in the prototype stage, but they've spent a lot of money packaging their prototype as if that's the main product, right? But in reality, your prototype is really functional. It just needs to be functional, and then you get the user's experience around it. So you create something basic, but don't confuse a prototype with an MVP. They're two different things. But again, further on in this series, we'll talk about the difference. So don't worry. Now, once you've done this, you can then think about the next stage. And here is the tools that you can literally use for your prototyping, right? First, why prototyping is very, very important. It helps you identify your key assumptions that, oh, this is what the product will do. Would it do this? If the client uses it for this, this is what will happen, right? Make sure that you simplify it and stick to the focus. Don't make it any more complex than it needs to be. Like if you're creating an app, for example, and an app is just to, let's say, make people go on tour, book a tour and literally go on tour. That's all you need to do. They can come on, book their tour, pay, and then go on tour. Do not add anything else onto it that will make it complex. For example, you make your camera, now all of a sudden you can take a 3D version of the place that you're going, and then you start giving you the story of Ossetu 2 and all of those other things. It will make your concept too complicated. So make it simple first and get the idea of how the client is going to use it. Then you can then develop from there. Now, one of the key things that you need to do in your prototyping stage is you cannot build your prototype without a functioning team. So you need to assemble a team for you to be able to do that with, right? Now, the next stage of all of this is the canvas that you need to use, okay? And this canvas, again, because this is not a session itself, we're going to talk about a canvas as you said, and I'm happy to run a session with those that are interested in it on how to go about doing this particular thing. But for today, we will just talk about it and then carry on when we need to carry on, right? So first question that you need to ask yourself is, why do you want to create this business? So you're using this concept to ask yourself a question. Why do you want to create this business? It shouldn't be because I want to make money, because that is just basic. We all know that, but the point is, why do you want to create this idea? Is it solving a problem? What problem is it solving? Whose pain point is it solving for? So then you move on to where we talk about your objectives, right? Clearly define your objectives. You need to be very, very clear here. Example given is we are going to Mars by 2024. So in your case, this app or this product will make Ajwa do this, or it will make the lady in Mokola be able to do that, or it will ensure that we are able to then, order food or ship things to the US, UK, whatever the case may be. What is it going to do, right? Clearly list those objectives, what it is that you want to achieve in that, and be specific as you can be. So put dates on them if you want to, or targets. So it's going to do this for this person, and you have to have that. Then you look at your target groups again, and this is the customer segmentation part. Who is this idea for? Who are you creating this business for? You need to list it. And remember that I talked about it in the beginning, you have to be environmentally minded. So again, don't forget to think about the earth, right? So this business that you're doing, what impact is it having on the earth, right? Literally, you have to ask yourself these questions. Is it solving a climate issue? If it is, then great. How is it doing that? All of those other things. Then you need to think about your early adopters. Who are the first people? Who are the first people that you're going to target? Friends, family, politicians, or whatever. Depends on the target. Who are the first people that you're going to then make sure that are going to adopt your product? Because the first people that adopt it necessarily are not going to be the people that will end up using the product in its lifetime. There's going to be people that will use it in the beginning and then later on drop off. But the most important thing is, who are the first people that are going to adopt this? You have to have that clearly in mind. Then you look at the problem and the needs of your stakeholders. A stakeholder here is any and everybody that has a role or has a stake in your success or your failure. So it could be a whole range of people, right? And like the thing said, be aware if your solution creates new problems. So you have to be aware that if you do this, what does that create? So typical example, right now, if I wanted to make, let's say, the coal industry very eco-friendly, right? See, so then I make sure that we're not using charcoal anymore. We burn it all together and then use a new form of burning product or whatever. What am I doing? I'm shutting down the coal industry. So that means that a lot of people are not going to get jobs. A lot of people are going to be out of jobs. So I've created an unemployment issue. I've created a problem. How am I going to solve that problem? You have to be aware of that, because if there are problems, chances are there'll be resistance to it, right? Then ask yourself, how are people solving an existing problem already? So this same charcoal issue, if I want to bring in an eco-friendly charcoal, how are people solving the charcoal issue already, right? So basically, if people are already solving these charcoal issue, they can either be my potential customers, or they can let me know that this problem has already been solved and we don't need you, right? Then you think about your value proposition. What is your value proposition? Do not say that your value proposition, this innovation, is about price, because you can't base your business on how much your product is worth. Because if you do that, your competitors can easily switch their business model to ensure that your pricing will go down. So you do not build your business on price. Do not say your value proposition is because it's affordable, right? Your value proposition can be things that allows me to be able to then forget my pain, relieve my pain. So it could be, efficiency, time management. It helps me save money, distresses me. All of these things that adds value to the life of your potential customers are things that you need to then focus on. Then you look at your channels. List all the channels that you're going to use to communicate with your potential customers. Where are they? If it's social media, what kind of social media you're going to use, right? And then remember, the channels is a reflection of the target. Because if you're targeting people that are social media savvy, technology savvy, then that means that they're going to be on social media. But what type of social media are they even using? Are they the Instagram type? Are they the Twitter type? Are they the Facebook type? And all of these are the things you have to think about, all of these things. And so you have to think about the channels that you're going to use. So what places are you going to find these people? What communities do they belong to? All of these things you have to think about when you think about the channels that you are going to use to communicate your product and services to your target. Then we talk about the solution itself. Have you noticed that we thought about the problems, our target, our value, our channels, even before we thought about the solution itself, right? How are you going to create this value that you're going to offer, right? What is the solution? How would you create it? Is it, if it's a platform, is it a physical thing? Is it a service? How are you going to create it? What method are you going to use to do all of these things? You have to think about all of these things. Then you look at the means, right? Again, how are people going to pay for your product? How are your customers going to pay for the product? List all your pricing models. So you have to have different types of pricing models. You don't have to have the same thing, because sometimes you might have a luxury product, you have the mid-ground product, and then you might have your product that is at the basic level. So again, listed. Sometimes also your product can be in different formats. People can license the product and all of these other things. So list your pricing models that you have clearly. Then you have to think about your cost, right? Because what is it going to cost you to get this business going, from all the way from your staff, all the way to marketing, branding, and all of these are the commissions that you have to pay. Who are you paying the commissions to? All of that is cost, rent, equipment that you have to buy. You have to think about all of these things because you can't innovate without thinking about all of these things, right? You have to think about them. Then you look at the metrics. What are you measuring, right? What are you measuring? What do you determine your success stories or to be, and the activities that you're going to embark on? You measure everything else. 20 products to be sold at this time and by this person, when, who are the people that I'm going to give it to, and all of these things. And then social media posts, who responded, how did they respond, did they like the product? Things that you're going to measure. You measure them. Now, again, remember we talked about the impact. Don't forget the earth. So you're going to then measure your impact on society. What does that mean from the climate point of view? You have to think about all of this. So you're measuring all of these things. Then you move on to one of the last blocks, which is going to be your uniqueness. Now, you see how the value proposition and the uniqueness are entirely separate in itself, right? What is so unique about your innovation? Because the reason why you're innovating is because you think you have an idea that is new, that needs to be introduced to the market. So what is new, what is unique about what it is that you're doing is something that you have to think about. So with that said, in conclusion, it is important, right, to note that innovation is not linear. Like I said, it's not a straight line, but the stages will definitely overlap. Sometimes you might, go and talk to regulators before you even get your ideas off the ground, because you want to find out if it would actually make sense. Sometimes you have to do a few research before you even going to embark on the whole ideation stage itself. But it's not straightforward. You should not approach the innovation line as a straight line. You should approach it in the steps. What it is that you can't afford to do is you can't afford to miss one step. You have to go through all the steps, but it necessarily does not have to be one after the other. The most important thing is to pick a mix of the other, but it's not going to be A, then B, then C, then D. No, it's not linear in that sense. The most important thing that you're following the stages to ensure that you bring the product to market, right? So let me just recap real quick so that then if you have any questions, then you can ask, right? So we talked about the fact that innovation here is part of moving your idea and making it marketable. So your product and your service and technology, making sure that it becomes marketable. Now, there are 12 stages that you have to go through to ensure that you do that: ideation, concept development, prototyping of your, or a proof of concept. Then you do your research, then intellectual property, then the product development itself. Then we talked about testing it on the market, regulations, scaling, and then continuously developing the idea. And then the people that are just going to be able to then, adapt to your particular product. And you have to then think about your feedback loops that you need to have. But looking at from the ideation point of view of innovation, make sure you're brainstorming, you're doing idea mapping, and then you're looking at other industries as well to pick up inspiration from other industries. Just because it doesn't exist in your industry or is new, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in another industry that you can pick from. Then we looked at the concept development itself. What is that? This is where you transform your idea. It takes shape itself from what you were thinking into now developing mock-ups for it, and then the prototype in a 3D version or whatever it is that you have, for it, right? So you use user-centered design, place the user at the middle, right at the center of what it is that you do. How are they going to use it? How is this going to solve their problem? You have to think about all of these people. And then you think about doing a mock-up. So you get somebody that knows UI and UX to do a nice mock-ups for you, which funny enough, you can even use that to raise funds, which sometimes is difficult, but it's possible to do. So you can use mock-ups to raise a few funding from family and friends in order for you to then build on your product. Then we look at the tools that you can use. If it's in the communication stage, you're looking at Trello, you're looking like Slack, and then Google Docs and all of these are the things that you can use. If you're moving into, the MVP stage, the mock-up stage, and, doing things to do prototyping, then you're looking at Adobe XD, Sketch, you're looking at Figma. All of these tools can help you create your product prototype in that sense. If you're then doing your research, don't forget to use things like SurveyMonkey, Typeform, and Hotjar. These are the 3 examples that I can give you, but there are many, 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 many more that you can use. Then you talked about the prototyping itself, the proof of concept and the prototyping itself. And again, looking at how you're going to go about doing it, you need to do it because it has to be used to demonstrate the feasibility of your idea. So that's what the prototype is going to do. The prototype is there just so that you can test the feasibility of it. And the strategies, again, identify your key assumptions. That, what are the critical factors that you need to prove or test? You are assuming that this is how the consumer is going to use your product, and then keep it simple. Simplify the focus. It does A, it does B, and then it does C. Do not let it do A, B, C, D, E, F, none of that. Just do A, B, C. That's it. This is what it's going to do at its basic level. And so that if it's functional, people then understand that it works. Don't make it complex. Then you test it all out, and then you go back and then hopefully develop a full-scale product that can go into the market. But before you do that, you need a team for them to be able to do that. This team can consist of product developers. You can have UI, UX people on it. You can have business development people on it. You can have sales people on it. You can have customer service people on it. Whatever it is, you need a cross-functional team. It can't just be you and you and you and maybe your business partner. So you're the CTO, and then you must do so many different things. And then your business partner is the CEO, and then they also become the HR person. And then no, you need a functional team for them to be able to do that. Then we talked about the slides, this particular canvas, which I'm happy to then help you drill down if you are in the innovation space right now that you want to then bring your product to market. I'm happy to work with you on this. So we can arrange that to ensure that we're able to do that. Then we looked at the conclusion saying that innovation is not linear. It's something that you have to be very, very aware of. It's not linear. It's just all over the place. They overlap. But the most important thing is you have to follow the steps of innovation. So with that said, sincere apologies for the technical side, and I hope I've been able to cover the thing. And if you have any questions, kindly either put your hands up, the moderator will let you answer ask the questions, and then I will answer your questions for you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Josiah. I think somebody was already asking if they will get the innovation canvas template, if it will be shared with them.
Yes, I will share the deck with the people that signed up for this, so they will have it as well.
Okay. And Frederick is saying that he would love to take part in the canvas training too. Frederick Silkway.
Okay, so you take notes of those that want to do that, and then I'll work with them to do that.
All right. Kindly put up your hand if you have a question at this moment. Okay, Nee's hand is up. Nee, please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. So that was a really great presentation. Even though I joined late, I enjoyed every part of it. So my question is actually, I want to find out, aside innovating on your product design, are there any other ways you can show innovation in your business? And also, I think you mentioned you would do a follow-up class or something. I didn't get that clear. I wanted to know if it's a paid class or what. Yeah.
If it's a paid class and you want to pay me, I'll take the money. Nah, it's not a paid class. The class is just going to be a normal class. People sign up for it, and yeah, I don't normally charge for these things. I charge for consultancy, but not for the training that I provide. Did that answer your question? That's the first part of your question, anyway.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah.
So this, the other part of your question is, how do you show innovation in your product? So this is what I said, innovation itself is not always physical, it's a process. See, so again, it could just literally change from you innovating on your packaging, right? The design that goes into your packaging, you innovated on it. If you're doing orange juice, for example, and it's in a certain box, but you then innovated the package, how people can open it, and then close it and make sure that the orange juice or the juice in it lasts a little bit longer, you've innovated. See, so innovation here is literally changing something from what it was to a different thing, right? So it's necessarily don't mean that, yeah, if you're doing, and I'm using orange juice here, that you stop doing the orange juice. It could be that you blended it differently this time that will make sure that the thing lasts a little bit longer. You've innovated. It's a process. The process in that is that innovation itself. So it's not always throwing away the old thing and then creating something new. It's just tweaking it a little bit. It's innovation in itself. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of though, but the reason why I was asking, yeah, I actually learned, I did a little, I do a lot of like online courses on stuff like this. So I learned some time ago that innovation, you can innovate in other parts of your business, probably like innovate in the way you deliver customer service, or probably like with your channels and stuff like that. So let me just tell you a bit about me and what we do. So I run an agri-tech startup called Husk Technologies, and we built a cocoa pod breaking machine. So when we started, we looked at our competitors, and during we went for market research and realized that the existing technology out there, even though the product was not available in Ghana, the ones in China and in Asia were very large machines that could not fit into our farm terrains and farm environments. So we had to build a much smaller technology, a very simple one to at it, so that it could even fit into an aboboya or tricycle, so it can easily maneuver through the farm. So that was like the main highlight of our innovation though. But whilst we were validating the business model as well, we also realized that most farmers, even were selling at this three times cheaper the price of our competitors, they still could not afford. So we came up with another model, a business model, more or less like a work and pay, where farmers can have access to our machines and then rent it out to their colleagues and then pay us back in an installment. So that's another way we innovated in our business model though. But we've been trying to raise funds for some time now, and anytime we communicate these to the panel or to potential investors, it looks like they are not getting it. And I want to know if our business model doesn't sound like isn't innovative enough, or like I'm trying to figure out what really is the problem with what we are doing. Or like I'm trying to figure out where we are going wrong with what they're doing. Yeah. And then one last thing, we had to change the design a bit and empower our machines with lithium batteries instead of gasoline to promote to protect the environment, of course. But that also make the product a bit more expensive. So I mean, in your presentation, you were talking about how thinking about, you were talking about how we should think about the planet as well, but in our case, we're thinking about the planet makes things more expensive for the customer. How do you go about it? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the previous questions about the investors, contact me after this. We can arrange to then look at your pitch deck, because I want to see how you kind of set up your business model itself and how you explaining it. Then see where we can tweak one or two things. Would that work?
That would be great. Thank you.
Right. So with the question about how do you innovate in this sense and think about your customers and the planet at the same time, it depends on who you're talking to, because you have a lot of investors that are impact investors, right? That will give you money to then offset the cost to the customer because you are impacting on the environment, okay? Now, there are other companies that will also sell you your machines that you're using at an affordable rate because you have an impact on your customers. So that means that the machine that you're now using, because you got them at an affordable rate, you'll be able to then drop your price so that your other customers can then, be able to afford it. Now, let me go back to the beginning of this slide. You will see something there that says number 6, right? It says choose a partner when you commercialize it, right? So in your case, you need to choose a partner that is also climate friendly, that would then support you in order for you to then achieve your particular goal that you want to achieve. So in this case, you cannot buy machines from a partner that only cares about making money because they don't care about what it is that you want to do. So you need somebody that is also building machines that are eco-friendly so that they sell it at a rate that will be affordable enough for you to then create your product and then pass off that cost to the customer so they'll be able to afford it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense though, but a little correction. So we don't buy the machines, we actually manufacture them locally here ourselves. Like we design, build the machines ourselves.
Right. In this case, the parts that you are using, where are you getting the parts from?
They are all sourced locally.
They are all sourced locally. So then you have to then get the partners locally that will give you these products at an affordable rate for you to be able to do that.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. We are rather trying to find developmental agencies to work with whose missions are aligned with what we are doing.
Yeah. So that they could be your financial partners in that sense. Where they will
that's what I'm saying. That's what we are struggling to find, because most of the time when we pitch, even though they like the idea, they are not buying it. So like most of them are like excited when we approach them, we tell them what we do, but at the end of the day, we are not getting the kind of support we expect to get. So that's what I'm trying to find out what the problem is.
Let's take it and see what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Nee. Is there anybody else who has a question? All right, Frank, you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello. Please, can you hear me?
Hi, Frank, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Frank Mensah, and then I'm also a startup owner of a marketing and advertising agency where we focus on SMEs, and then in our target market, that is the SMEs. We don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing and advertisement. So probably what we do is that we look at we leverage on our expertise in the IT and the other services that we produce, then we bring them together as packages that suit the SMEs. But in the speech, he made mention of the fact that reducing of the price is not an innovation. So if you say you are reducing the price, then it is not a fine way of innovating, which I understand, because if you can produce at 1 cedi, or if you can deliver the service for 100 cedis and someone can deliver for 50 Ghana cedis. And then probably you wouldn't be in business. And we can't keep on reducing the price until the price is zero and we have nothing to, and then we go on and offer it for free. So for us in the service sector, how do we make sure that our innovation, though we have some stuff that we do to connect with our clients, one of it is that we have a very strong after sales service, which a lot of people don't have. And then our direct competitors are also freelancers. And we know that in Ghana, freelancing, we have a lot of stories with regards to people giving their contracts to freelancers. And then later on, they mess it up. Some of them, you can't really find them. And they have the back end of your website and other stuff. So I wanted to know some of the options to consider for those of us in the service side, how we can really innovate around our packages and other stuff to make sure that we stay competitive.
Okay, so thank you for that question. Staying relevant and competitive is the key to business if you want to survive, right? So that's something that we all agree. And price, like I said, it's not an innovation, so let's put that to the side. Right now, in the space that you're in, particularly with digital marketing and everything else, AI-assisted marketing is one of the best ways to go about it, right? So use the AI tools, the Google search, and all of these are the things that Google already has. Use them to enhance the information and the support that you give to your client. So let's say you get your clients, normally I will take your information, advertise something for you, right? And that's it. I don't give you any back-end information. I don't tell you what happened, and then you go home, you just put in money into, what do you call it, marketing, but you don't see the end of it. So imagine if you did the whole AI-assisted feedback that you give to your client. It breaks down the location in which the advert was placed, who responded, how they can use that to turn into converting those potential clients, customers into clients, into paid clients, and all of these other things. You're giving them added value service that your competitors probably not given. That is what is going to make them stay with you. That is where you tell them, okay, right now I gave you, let's say, an insight to 50 locations that are interested in your product. If you pay X, I will then show you how to unlock that potential. But in the first month, I will do it for free so that you sign a contract with me that says in the next 3 months, you're going to use that service, right? Once people see the value that you brought onto them after they work with you in monetary terms, they would then pay you more for your services. So you have to look at added value services. Like I said, not your core service, because your core service is just that. That's what you do. You are a digital marketing company. You provide marketing for other organizations. Great. At the core, this is what you do. You put my ad on Facebook. Everybody could do that. Cool. But the added value service of that is you saying that I will give you feedback. I will give you statistics of where your ad is placed, what time you need to place your ad, because Ajua in Kantamanto responds to your ad at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that means that we better place the ad to Ajua, who's your target, at 3 o'clock in the morning, because we've seen how she uses their phone around that time to order A, B, C, and D. That's the added service, that's added value service that you've given to your client for them to now make an informed decisions. They will stick with you. So look, go beyond your core services. Your core service is a thing that you have to do anyway, but the added value service, in your case, I'm just using the AI-assisted data as an example here. You can do so many different things. If you're doing design for somebody, are you telling the person that I'll give you, let's say, 3 or 4 options of saying no and changing your design before I charge you more for any design that you want to make? So what are you doing? You're saving time yourself, because you give the person 3 designs, they get 3 chances to make a decision. So they'll say, okay, change it 1, 2, 3. On the 5th one or the 4th one, you charge them. It saves you time, so you can do other designs. But what we tend to do is we let a person get so many changes that it wastes our time, or the person doesn't have room to make any changes. So then they think, oh, I don't like your design, but you know, I can't make a change, so I won't come back to you. So those are the added value service that you need, right, to have in order for the person to stay with you. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I think I'm cool. I'm cool with this.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you so much for joining in today. I don't know if anyone has any questions to ask. But for the next 3 weeks, we are going to have Josiah here taking us through a step-by-step commercialization process. And then on Thursday, what we have with him is on disclosure.
Yes.
So I don't know if anybody has a question.
Vanessa,
Yes, please.
sorry to cut in. The disclosure part, if you have a business partner, I would love for that business partner to also be in the session with you, right? Because that is very, very important. But we can, you know, talk about that because the people that signed up for this, information will be sent to them. But if you have a business partner, kindly let them also participate in this. If you have a person that you're also working with that is developing your technology or whatever it is that you're doing right now, let them join this series, because there's a lot of things that I'll be talking about that speaks to them that they need to know that will help you in the end. So yeah, Shanessa, sorry for cutting in when you were speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Josiah, for making us aware of that. And at this moment, we want to put on our cameras so that we can take a quick photo. Josiah, can you stop sharing your screen, please? All right. Kindly put on your cameras. Let's see the beautiful people in here. Tina, George, okay. Ruth, Lisa, Marian. Hi, Fafa, are you ready, please? Hey, a lot of us have not put on our cameras. Jeremiah, Judy, I'll mention your name. Richard, Flavian. Fafa, please, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1, then you smile. All right. So in 3, 2, 1. Fafa, we done, please.
Okay, we are done now.
All right. All right. So thank you so much for joining today. We'll meet on Thursday, same time, 1 p.m. All right. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.